What up, YouTube? So today we're going to be ranking Walking Dead ships and relationships. So basically, these are actual real canon couples or potential ships between two characters that fans really wanted to see but never happened. And so we're going to be ranking all of them. So just to go through the tiers, we've got why didn't this happen? This basically meant that this really needed to happen and it didn't. So when I say tiers, these aren't quite, this couple might work really well. Maybe it might be best to swap these up, but just so you know, this isn't like S tier, okay? I want to preface this. This isn't S tier. This is just like, why didn't this happen? This is works well. So this is the couple works. I probably should say works. Maybe I should have another tier actually, just to specify. S tier couple. Okay, there we are. So we've got an S tier couple. Right, so this is for S tier couples. Works well. Meh, I don't mind either way. Would not work. So this is if they're not a couple already. Bad couple, right? And ew, gross. This is for like when I think it's actually kind of disgusting that people are even suggesting these two should be a couple. So starting off with Rick and Jesse. I think, for me, this is just a meh. I don't mind either way. Didn't really care for their relationship in particular. I think it had potential, but they knew they didn't have enough time to flesh out their relationship. They knew that Jesse was going to die pretty soon, so they kind of rushed it a little bit, and I don't really care that they rushed it. It's sort of like I don't really mind either way type thing. Rick and Michonne, I think this is an S tier couple personally. I think if you rewatch, and recently I rewatched The Walking Dead, or I'm currently in season 8. When I was rewatching it, you really see their bond in season 3. Like they slowly, they're very hostile towards each other at the start, and they slowly begin to warm to each other. And you do see very flirtatious moments between the two quite a bit. And obviously, eventually, they do get together in season 6, and it makes sense. There's also a few flirtatious moments with Michonne and Daryl as well, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, I think Rick and Michonne work really well together. I think it makes sense that they became a couple. I remember at the time people said it was very forced. They never saw it like that. But upon rewatching, I see it, and it does feel natural. It is surprising. Don't get me wrong. I was very surprised when it happened, but actually the signs were all there, so I can understand why people were Rishoning them all the time. And I think they're really good in The Ones Who Live. It's a bit soppy in The Ones Who Live, a little bit too soppy for my taste, but overall, that sort of solidifies their relationship for me. Rick and Negan as a couple, I feel like they'd be a bad couple personally. Not only would it not, well, I guess it wouldn't work because this is for the established couples. So this one just wouldn't work. I don't think they would work. I think they would kill each other. It's not quite an ooh gross, but it's definitely not a. Yeah, I feel like they would end up killing each other. Andrea and Rick, for what Andrea sort of was in the show, I don't know. I think it could work well. Maybe work well. Maybe works well or could work well. Okay, it's a very wordy tier. I apologize. Works well or / could work well. Yeah, I feel like Andrea and Rick could have worked really well, personally. I do see the potential, but I think from where they took Andrea in season 3, it was just never going to happen. Well, actually, it could have, I suppose. Obviously, well, she died, so no. But yeah, their relationship in the comic, I like a lot, but it took me a while to like it. And so, when I reread the comic, I think it was kind of the same. So in a sense, I generally feel like Michonne and Rick are superior to Andrea and Rick in the comics, personally. But I could see the Rick and Andrea relationship working, but yeah, it wasn't to be. Rick and Daryl, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, it's difficult. I feel like they wouldn't work. And I'm not accounting for sexuality here, and I'm being pretty loose with the sexuality, right? Let's assume they're both bi, okay? That's what we're doing in this scenario, okay? I don't know. I don't really. I think they are just friends, right? Maybe that's what the would not work here is kind of as well. They're just gooder as friends, or they're better as friends or enemies in Rick and Negan's case. Daryl and Jesus. I mean, I could see it. I wouldn't mind either way if it actually became a thing. I remember people talking about it when Jesus first came in, it was first introduced. And I don't know, like, to me, it's like, I wouldn't mind either way, unless like it was really like the way they did it was really epic and cool and based, and like their dynamic was really good. I generally wouldn't care either way. We got Daryl and Connie. Now this is why didn't this happen? Because like their flirting, their charisma, their charm with each other, that was like evident, palpable throughout ever since she was like introduced. But they just never do anything with it. And it's like, well, why did we have all these like Daryl and Connie bonding moments? Why did we have all that if nothing was gonna amount to their like bond, right? They're just friends again. Well, how's that any different to the dynamic he has with Carol? It's kind of boring. Do you know what I mean? It's like the same thing as shit again. So I really do hope that in the future, it's possible they could still do it. They actually do have these two be together because they just work as a couple, One's like a fucking well-educated journalist and the other's like a redneck, and the fact that as well Daryl comes from like very racist family. I think there's something is quite poetic that he kind of ends up being with like a black lady who's also deaf. I don't know. I think there's something poetic there. Daryl and Michonne. Now, unpopular opinion, I prefer Rick and Michonne, don't get me wrong, but I actually feel like this could work well / could work well. I generally, you see their like bond, and it's a similar thing. I just think again it's kind of poetic that Murrow was like, said all these racist things to Michonne and was like willing to hand her over, and also like, Murrow clearly hates. Clearly, well, maybe not hates, but she probably hates. He clearly is a racist, is what I'm trying to say. So it'd be, again, kind of ironic, kind of poetic if his brother that he cares for the most end up being with a black woman, a pretty, and one who bested Merle at that. I don't know, but I personally think they could work well as a couple. Obviously, they ended up not they're not going to be a couple because Roshone is a thing, but I could honestly see it, and I think it could work well. Negan and Michonne is just an gross. I just don't see that happening at all. Yeah. Sasha and Abraham, I still don't know how I feel about this couple 100%. I didn't really mind. I don't think I mind their couple overall. And I know like a lot of people at the time were like, well, why would Abraham choose Sasha over Rosita? Because Rosita is so much hotter, right? No, I understand why he goes with Sasha. Because Sasha's someone who knows, whose shit is together. Even though she's lost everything, like Abraham. Like Abraham, she's lost everything. She's lost her brother. She's lost Bob, right? She loses the prison. And so she kind of has this, but she's like, she calls bullshit, right? She knows what she is. She's very straightforward, right? And I think Abraham sees that, where I don't think he fully knows all the answers, right? And he doesn't actually know what his plan is now, because his plan he had a clear plan, a clear mission. But once Eugene lied, that kind of got railroaded, right? And he doesn't really know what he's doing now. And so I think when he sees Sasha, he has this and he gets to know Sasha, he sort of sees that she's just going forward, it's just self-awareness is a beautiful thing, right? She's just marching forward. And I think Abraham sees that and he just falls in love with that because that's what he wants to be. So I understand why he gets with Sasha. And I do think it makes sense. But them as a couple themselves, we just don't see enough of it. We literally don't see anything apart from that flashback that we get in the season 7 finale. We don't really see them as a couple. So that's why I put it in the meh, don't mind either way. Daryl and Beth. This one's tricky. Because honestly, it is a bit of an gross. Okay, I'm gonna put it in gross because I think the age gap is just a bit weird for me, right? An 18-year-old and like a 40-year-old is just too weird for me. Okay, I think that's too yikesy. But at the same time, I do see their romantic connection. I think it is evident when you rewatch season 4, especially still. It's there. Like when Daryl kind of says, like, yeah, I think there might be good people in the world, right? And Beth goes, oh, how who changed your mind there? Daryl's like, he's just silent. He just kind of looks at her and stares at her, and Beth just goes, oh, right? And that moment is ruined. Obviously, that they're ripped out of that moment when the dog comes and the walkers come and then Beth's kidnapped. And I don't know. I feel like there is I do feel a romantic bond between those two. I find it incredibly uncomfortable, but I see it. But then I don't know. if you want to make the argument, well, she's 18, she's technically, you know, an adult. You can make that argument, I guess. To me, it's just too yikesy, the age gap. But I don't know. There could be a way where it works, potentially. I just don't like it. Right? Enid and Carl. I think this works well. Again, I would have loved to see more of their like little relationship, and I do think it was cute in the episode that they have, obviously, where they first kiss and stuff. I like their little bond, and I just wish we saw more of it. But unfortunately, they had to kill Carl off. Gabriel and Rosita. This is just a bad couple. I don't really understand. Like, you could take this relationship out the show and it wouldn't change a thing, because they're barely even together, right? There's a few scenes where they kiss and stuff, and obviously we have the stuff with Sadiq and Rosita having Sadiq's baby, and Gabriel being like forced to be the father of that baby after Sadiq dies. Yeah, it's just like, they have that whole dynamic, which is kind of interesting, but they don't really do anything. There's no drama in it, like, because they don't want to make Rosita like a slut. So it was a relationship that happened before her and Gabriel got together. Okay, fair enough. But then there's no drama because all the men are like, yeah, that's cool, we'll do it, right? And so I don't understand why they did that plot line. They just shouldn't have bothered, right? I know it was in the comics, but it was with Eugene, obviously, Eugene and Sadiq. They just shouldn't have bothered, honestly. But yeah, I don't know. You could take it out of the show and it wouldn't change anything, so I don't really care for it. Ezekiel and Carol, I think, is honestly an S tier couple, but I feel like it's below Rick and Michonne at the same time. I like the fact that Carol, again, like Ezekiel, they're both bullshitters, right? It's the relationship of bullshitters. Carol puts on a show, Ezekiel puts on a show. And so I think it works well when they do get together. I really do feel it. And it's a dynamic that, yeah, when it happened in season 9, I was like, okay, no, that does work, right? When we see that they're sort of together. And then they break up, and it's just kind of sad. Like, they get divorced. I think they have like a rebound at one point, but they get divorced and they're like no longer together. And it's just, I don't know, it just kind of becomes pretty sad. So actually thinking about it, I think it could have worked well if they carried on doing it, but yeah, it just kind of broke down. It wasn't very nice. I don't like it. Laurie and Rick, I just don't mind. I'm meh. That's like a relationship I don't really feel very strongly about. Really, I think they you understand why they've been together for a long time, and I think, you know, they definitely have their moments as a couple, and we see that. But they have a lot of struggles. They have a lot of skeletons in their closets. Rick is emotionally detached from his wife. We even saw that before he reunites with her during the apocalypse, right? The way the conversation with Shane, right? And Laurie also having a conversation with that Paula at the school in that flashback in season 2. Like, we kind of get the idea that these two have never really, like, they're together, they love each other, but they don't really have conversations. They don't really talk about their feelings, right? They don't really talk about their emotions. Rick's very emotionally reserved. And I think that's a thing that people forget about in season 1, because that's kind of Rick's arc in a way, because one of his final acts in season 1's finale is pleading with Jenna, using emotional arguments for him to let them go, and that's when Jenna lets them go, right? So it's like a small arc for Rick, but that is actually something that's quite important to his character that I think fans forget, or at least early on in his character. And we see that when Laurie sort of reacts badly to Rick killing Shane, which we can talk about another day, that scene, because I feel like that scene, I interpret that scene differently to some fans, but I think it's fair for fans to interpret that in a different way. But when that happens, Rick just shuts off. He's cold to her. Like, he just treats her like she's no one. So their relationship's really toxic, actually. Thinking about maybe, I don't know. But they clearly were happy at a time, so I don't know. I'm gonna stick it there. Shane and Laurie is just a bad couple, because actually it might even deserve to go in Gross. I'm gonna stick it in bad couple, because obviously Laurie was using Shane as a fling, right? That's all Shane was. Shane was a coping mechanism because she'd lost and people like to talk about Laurie's not loyal because she, like, you know, she fucked Shane. Okay, listen, this is how it goes. Laurie. Put yourself in Laurie's shoes, okay? I want you to pretend you're Laurie. Okay. My husband's been shot. He's in a coma. Fuck. Traumatizing. Stressful. I've got to look after Carl. Very stressful, okay? Perfect. Apocalypse happens. what the fuck do we do now? And Shane goes to get Rick and comes to Laurie and says, he's dead. I put my head to his chest and I couldn't hear a heartbeat. He's dead, Laurie. I'm so sorry. Right? So to Laurie, he might not be dead. He is dead, okay? Fuck, my husband's dead. And also, an apocalypse has just happened. They watched the city get bombed to shit. Everybody that Laurie knows is dead, apart from Shane, everybody that Laurie used to know, apart from Shane and Carl. Those are the only two people, right? I understand why Laurie, in like 2 months, has sex with Shane, okay? I understand. I think, and if you can't comprehend that, if you still say Laurie's not loyal, you're fucking lost. You're delusional, right? That's a very human response, and I wouldn't morally condemn her for it at all, not an ounce. Okay, and not even Rick does. Rick doesn't even do that. Rick says, "Yeah, I understand. I get it." Like even Rick understands, and you motherfuckers still call her out for it. Okay, a little rant about that. Anyway. As soon as she finds out Rick's alive, she dumps Shane straight away. And Shane and Laurie sort of have this toxic back and forth where Laurie does shut Shane down very cruelly, very harshly. And I think she does feel guilty for having sex with Shane and she blames him for it. And I think she's unreasonable when she does that because the way that she talks to Shane is what riles Shane up. Right? That's part of the reason why he goes as fucking insane as he does is because she just refuses to talk to him, right? And she shuts down all conversations. And when she does kind of be nice to him once, because she's been mean to him the whole time, Shane gets it in his fucking delusional head, right? That, oh fuck, me and Laurie can happen. That's why he goes to try and kill Rick. Because of the conversation she has with her. So I'm not saying Laurie's not at fault. She definitely is. She has some flaws as a character. And that one thing is definitely the way that she treats Shane is actually quite mean, right? And it does spiral Shane a bit out of control. But yeah, they just make a bad couple. Not to mention the fact that Shane tried to assault her, so yeah. Magna and Yumiko, honestly, like, I don't understand why, Yumiko is, like, really cool, and Magna's just horrible. She's just so moody, and so, like, unreasonable, and she's, like, I just don't understand why they get back together at the end of the season. I'm like, why? Why did they do that? Why did they get back together? They leave it. I don't know. I don't understand it. Bob, Stuckey, and Sasha. This is an S tier couple, okay? The optimist and the pessimist, right? Sasha's a pessimist. Bob's an optimist. And they have this, like, cute little relationship. It doesn't last long, sure. But I think when it's there on screen, I fucking love it. I think they're a really, really great couple. Very underrated couple. Ezekiel and Michonne, I just think would not work. The age gap, and I just feel like I don't even know how big the age gap really is. It was just, I just feel like ew. Like it happened in the. It just doesn't feel right. Ezekiel feels older than Michonne. I mean, they probably are this similar age, but it's the fact that as well. I don't know that they're just kind of. It comes out. No, their little kiss scene was like a fucking trailer, a shocking trailer moment for the trailers, and I know it's a wink and a nod to the comic book because I know they get together in the comic book. But even in the comic book, it was like, it wasn't very good. Like Michonne is just like has any like new black male character who gets introduced, Michonne has a relationship with. It's really weird, and none of them are very good apart from maybe her and Tyree. No, not even that one. No, not even that one. Glenn and Maggie, obvious S tier couple. I think they are the best couple. So it would go Glenn and Maggie best couple, Roshone, and then Bob. Yeah, and then Bob Sasha. Yeah, obviously I don't need to talk about this. You know it. You know it to be true. Sadiq and Rosita, honestly, I think I would have liked to see more of this. I think it did work well. I would have liked to see more of their little bond. The two actors, the few scenes they have together where we do see them whilst they're, both still alive, they actually have like a really cute like little bond, and I would have liked to see more of it. So yeah, plus they've got a child together, so that's kind of cool. Carol and Daryl. See, for this, it's tricky. Because some people might say, well, why didn't this happen? And I think, actually, if we're just talking, like, the earlier seasons, like seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I agree. Why didn't this happen? All the signs were there. It was clearly, like, meant to be. Like, they clearly had, like, this bond. But then I think in the later seasons, especially on a rewatch as well, and kind of going into the later, like, season 7, season 8, season 9, I think, actually, I think they're like just good as friends, right? So I don't think it would work well. I think they do just suit friends, and it's been so long now. I wouldn't want to see them be a couple anymore. I just don't. I don't think it makes sense from a narrative standpoint. But the fact that they've been together for together as in like they've known each other for so long and they've not ever started a relationship since. And again, I think Connie just suits Daryl. Connie and Daryl, I think, are a better couple. And for Carol, she's got Ezekiel. So yeah, we're all for the interracial Walking Dead relationships here. Aaron and Jesus, I just don't care. Fine. I honestly just wouldn't care if they got together or they didn't. I think they technically were together, but it was like they confirmed it off screen. I don't give a fuck. I don't like Jesus' character that much. I think they kind of ruined him, so I don't really care for him. And Aaron, I like Aaron, but I'm not like crazy about Aaron. Now we have Shane and Andrea. This isn't gross. I just didn't like the fact when they got together. I felt for my man Dale. Yeah, it's just... I don't know. It was a bit gross. Rosita and Abraham, I think these two worked well for as long as they did. I think, they're both pretty badass. They're both like military people, right? So they worked well for what they did. And then they're gone. Carl and Negan, that's just disgusting. We'll put that right there. Oh, there's no Dwight and Sherry on here, actually. Oh, well. Damn, that's actually annoying. I would have added them. Dwight and Sherry I'd probably put in works well, by the way. Anyway, Eugene and Rosita, I think this would just be a bad couple. They're too different, personally, I feel. Enid and Alden. Okay, to me, Alden is like... Wait, so actually, when they explain this, someone explained this, I don't think like it's bad, the age gap. So Enid's meant to be like 23, 24 during the season 9 time skip. And Alden's like 29. So it's not like a crazy age gap. It's like, it's not, I don't know. I think it's probably fine from like a moral standpoint, that big of an age gap. It's just, it doesn't feel right. The fact that last time we saw Enid, she was with Carl, and Carl was meant to be like 14. She was meant to be 14, 15. And we saw Alden, he was like an adult. He was like 20, 19, It just, to me, it just doesn't feel right, like personally. And it's very arbitrary, that feeling, but it just, yeah. And I think they weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend. They were just fuck buddies. Because in that, like, season, just before Enid dies, right, she says, like, oh, we're boyfriend and girlfriend now, right? Right? And Alden's like, yeah, I guess we are, right? They were clearly just fuck buddies before that. So, I don't know. I just find it weird. Carl and Ron. So, low-key, I think this could work, right? Maybe it's me, but when I first watched this, and don't say I'm weird because I was like around their age. I think I'm like literally like a few months older than Chandler Riggs, and I think the Ron actor is actually older than me. When I first watched Walking Dead, like the season 5, I felt like this weird, like kind of like gay, like almost like what's the word? I don't know. I just felt like a tension between them, right? It's like homosexual tension, okay? Between like their little fight and all that, and like the way that they talk, and the fact that they were getting jealous of like Enid being with the other one. Like Ron was getting jealous of Carl. Carl was getting jealous of Ron. I just felt like, I don't know. I just felt like I could see a world where they ended up together. I don't know. The fact that they're both very angry, I think it could work. Leah and Daryl. I just, to be honest, bad couple. I don't even get why they're together. Like, Daryl's been so asexual for so long. I feel like if someone was gonna be with him, she has to be like someone to open him up. But she's just as dull and depressing as him. So I guess maybe in a sense they're a perfect match, but they don't make a very interesting couple. And plus they're a bad couple because Daryl ends up shooting her in the head anyway. So Carol and Tyrese, I don't think it would work. Personally, I think they're two different people. I know they're a thing in the comics, but yeah. Elijah and Lydia. This just felt unnecessary. Actually, yeah, it's the same with Gabriel and Rosita. Actually, no, this one's worse. This one just doesn't do any. Like, it was just, oh, we need Lydia. We need to do something with Lydia because after we fucking killed off Henry, she became like a background character. What can we do with Lydia this season? Why don't we put her with Check's character list? Who's like closer to her age that's a boy? Gage? Oh no, right, Gage attacked her, and we want Gage to die. Who else have we got? Elijah? How old is Elijah again? Like 20? Oh, I guess that's okay. Yeah, let's get those two together. Why? It was so out of nowhere, so random. Didn't care for it whatsoever. And also we chopped Lydia's arm off. Whatever. Gabriel and Jadis, I think these worked well, and I like the little flashback scenes with him and her in The Ones Who Live, although I guess that means that Gabriel was like secretly meeting with his ex whilst with Rosita, which is yikes, Gabriel. I guess he didn't do anything with her though, but I think when he kisses Jadis, that's after Rosita's died, I'm pretty sure, so whatever. He still was secretly meeting with his ex, which was a bit weird. But I don't know. I think they worked well. Like, she's an outcast. He was an outcast for a long time. And the fact that they have this sort of confess your sins type relationship, I think I really like that. I really like that sort of their little bond. I think, obviously, they're quite destructive to each other because Jadis tries to kill Gabriel multiple times, but he keeps coming back. And she never goes through with it. So I think ultimately they're destined for each other. But unfortunately, Gabriel finds out they can't be together now because Jadis is dead. Axel and Carol, I generally think this could have worked well. They have like this like weird like Axel's like a good guy deep down, and like he's a bit of a. I think with Carol, like she's always been like, I get the sense of Carol like she's always been with like deadbeat guys, and Axel's like a deadbeat guy in a way because he's in prison, but he's like a funny, charismatic, and fairly charming deadbeat guy. I mean, he does try to flirt with Beth, which is a bit weird, but I can understand the hustle, okay? I understand why. He's like, oh, fuck it. She's 17. I mean, I guess the laws aren't any around anymore, and there's no one else available. Like, I understand why. And to be fair on Axel, he stopped going for Beth as soon as he realized Carol wasn't a lesbian, right? He's like, oh, shit. Okay, then. He considered Carol an upgrade, so I don't blame him entirely, right? Or it was a bit weird at first, though, Axel. Alicia and Tara, I just didn't care. They didn't really do much with them. It's just kind of like, oh, Tara has a girlfriend now, and she's dead. The governor and Andrea. This might be very controversial, but I think it worked well. I generally do feel like they worked well as a couple, and I understand why Andrea falls for the governor. Obviously, ultimately, the governor kills her, but I think in the context of the show, it worked really well, and I think it was a decent change from the comics. I like the governor in the comics too, don't get me wrong, but I think humanizing more and making him more charismatic, it makes more sense as to why he leads this group of like this town folk, like because he is like the happy-go-lucky mayor, and I understand why Andrea falls for him. So yeah, I don't know, I put him there. Tobin and Carol, I just didn't care for. If they carried on doing it, I wouldn't mind too much. All right. Henry and Lydia. This, I'm so tempted, right? I'm so tempted to put them in S tier, all right? Now, why? Because I really fucking love that storyline in the comics, and I was like so bummed out when they killed Carl, but I was like, fuck. I realized what they were doing. I was like, oh shit. Henry is going to be taking Carl's story. That can work. And with Henry being Carol's kid, yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm on board with that. I mean, I much would have preferred it to be Carl, but whatever. Let's go with it. And I'm like waiting for the Whisperer War, which is like my favorite story arc in the comic, right? Is the Whisperer War. I even like it more than All That War. And the reason I love it is because it's kind of Carl's perspective. It's like Carl's story. Like, Carl is the one who starts the war by going after a girl that he fancies, right? That like sort of has sex with him, like out of nowhere. Takes his virginity, and you know they didn't have it like be so sexual. It's just like a teenage romance, and I'm okay. I'm fine. I prefer them toning down the child sex, but like Henry and Lydia, I don't know. I think they worked as a cute little couple, and I really liked it. I really liked the worm scene where they eat the worm together, and then the scenes of them fighting the Whisperers and like them protecting each other. And I liked him the fair as well, and like, you know, Henry sort of showing his girlfriend to his parents. Like, I liked all that, and they kill Henry off, and I'm like, oh, what? No, I fucking hate Henry's death so much. It's probably like it's weird, but I just feel like that ruined like season 10. I'm not a fan of, and I think it would have been vastly better if Henry were spared and it was Ezekiel instead. I generally feel like Ezekiel should have died there. Nothing that interesting happens with Ezekiel after anyway. And I think him being a Pikehead victim makes sense for his character arc too, because he would just like united all the communities together. You know, he's the great leader sort of thing. Yeah, that's just personally. I really like their like couple, and they're not like an adult romantic couple. It's just like a cute sort of like teenage thing. You know, like. You know, I'm not asking for anything S-rated here, but X-rated. But yeah, I feel like as a couple, I think they worked, and they worked really well for the narrative. And I really wish they didn't kill Henry and they kept that through line, because, like I was saying before, after that, I don't care for Lydia, and she becomes irrelevant. She has nothing to do. If she was Henry's girlfriend and they kept him and her around, like, you know, and Henry was sort of took over a lot of the Carl storylines, Lydia would still be relevant. Anyway, we've got Denise and Tara. I think this could have worked. No, I just didn't care. I feel mean because I've got all the gay relationships like pretty low down. But I feel like the Walking Dead show just didn't do the gay relationships very good. I mean, I guess Aaron and Eric works well, but like Eric's, then the few scenes where they have like together where they talk, I like. But they didn't do much with Eric. Like, this is the problem with like the Walking Dead gay relationships, is it's always one of the characters is a main character and the other character is a supporting character. The only sort of exception to this was Denise and Tara, but they didn't have very much time together as a couple. We didn't see that very much. We saw the kiss and we saw they were living together, and that was it. And we saw sort of Tara's reaction to her death, which, you know, was sad and all, but whatever. Eric and Aaron, same thing. Like, one's a major character, one's not a major character. And I think that's the problem. Like, all the straight relationships were like two major characters, right? All the big ones, like these two. I guess Henry and Lydia were both major characters. These two, you know, like they were all like major characters, whereas all the gay ones were like just weren't, apart from maybe this one. And I guess Aaron and Jesus, I guess you can maybe count, but like they were never even together on screen. You wouldn't, if you watch the show, you wouldn't even know that. You can maybe sense it, but you wouldn't know for sure. Aaron and Gabriel, like low key, I think could work to some degree, but I at the same time I think probably not. I feel like they're better as friends, and that's where I'm going to keep them. They're better as friends. And Morgan and Carol, I think, are just again better as friends. And then Karen and Tyrese, what a weird one to end it with. I think it just worked as it was. I think it actually worked pretty well because her death is kind of what motivates Tyrese, is like spiraling out of control, plus all the tension with him and Carol, and Carol finally admitting it. I think without Karen, we wouldn't have had all that. And I think from the little we see of their relationship, it makes sense. They seem like a happy couple. I think it's written fine, and I think it's acted fine. So, yeah, that's it really. Now let me know what couples I missed and where you would put them. And if you hardcore disagree with my decisions, just so you know, you're wrong. It's not my opinion, it's a fact. That basically is what people... I feel like that's how people, like, argue sometimes. Like, yeah, you can say my opinion's wrong, that's fine. But, fuck it. I'm going to use the same language. I don't care. You're delusional if you disagree with my opinion. I don't know. Fuck it now. Have your opinion. It's fine. I like it. I like the comments rather way. I don't want lick spills either. I don't want people just like kissing my ass and telling me I'm right. I do like it when people disagree and we have like a little bit of a debate in the comment section. I enjoy that. It's I don't know. It's when people kind of come with like this like matter of fact truth. You know, that's what sort of annoys me. Like they're right and they can't consider another opinion. Because I can consider like some of these opinions. Like if you give me a good argument, I think someone did the other day. Like in the video I did the morally, they made an argument about Carl not being where I put Carl and instead putting Carl in like innocent or at least in the mostly good. And they made like an argument, and I was like, actually, that's actually a good argument. I agree. I probably would change my opinion now on that. So a good argument, a good structured argument is welcomed, but an angry comment not welcomed. But I'll still argue with you anyway. Ha ha ha. Bye bye.